Hello, I'm Lise Colucci, and I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. So, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about sex and boundaries and the narcissist and the things they push you into and the types of different types of things that the narcissist may push sexually upon the survivors. So, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. First, I want to say if there is anything in regards to seeking help for narcissistic abuse, head over to queenbeing.com and check out all the information over there. There is lots of info, lots of support. There's access to peer support as well as information on coaching over there. So if you need that, head over. The information and the links are in the main description of every video. Let you know that right now I'm running 35% off of coaching for sole individual 1-hour sessions. 35% off from now through January, or through 1st of January. So if anyone needs that, it is a good time to take advantage of that deal. Anyway, that's it. If you would like texting notification of my going live, text me at 33222. Put the words Lise Live, LISELIVE, hit send, and I will send you a text about 10 minutes prior to being live. Okay, so we're going to get started. It's totally okay if no one wants to speak up a lot on this topic. I understand, but we're going to go because it's important that people have the validation and feel heard and feel like they're not alone in what happens with intimacy, sexuality, and a narcissist. So let's get started. I asked people for some information if they wanted to share their experiences with any kind of coercive behavior from a narcissist sexually. And oftentimes that can be things that are pushing boundaries or basically kinky and less, what do I want to say? Less vanilla, less, not even that, less commonplace sexual acts, like things that maybe people might find are pushing boundaries. Now, none of this is to shame anybody for anything they enjoy. Sexuality is a personal preference and it is a personal experience, and it is nothing to have shame or guilt or anything around. So nothing that we're talking about here is about the act itself, unless it is something that is, going against someone's consent. But the thing is, with a narcissist, when you're talking about someone who is a manipulator by nature and who is coercive by nature and who has a relationship that's set up on a transactional basis rather than one of intimacy and love, and one that is set up on power dynamics where the narcissist has the main hold of power over the survivor, then we're talking about a coercive dynamic in all of the relationship, including intimacy. Now, that's not to say that saying that, sex with a narcissist is always coercive. No, I mean, we participate and we are often, willingly and happily participating in the situation. The thing is that a lot of times it can get pushed over slowly but surely into the same boundary crossing that happens in the rest of the relationship. And people end up doing things that they find morally wrong, that they find just not what they enjoy, that they feel like they're saying yes to what they would say no to. And some of those things can get pretty intense and make people have the feeling of a lot of shame and a lot of resentment and a lot of regret toward themselves, as well as struggle to realize that that is abuse. So I'm going to read you some of the things that people wrote that they experienced. If anyone wants to talk, feel free. We can keep this short, or you guys can talk, or whatever you need to do. So we'll just do this. I'm going to go here, open this up, and read what some people wrote. So let's start with a good one here. Okay, for sex fetishes. This is so gross and embarrassing. Okay, I'm just going to read it kind of as it's written. But once I woke up and he was wide awake, he had moved so that his feet were on the pillow next to me. I was laying on my side with my back to him, and he was just staring at my naked ass. Many times he wanted to have anal sex, and I said no. So he would start masturbating on my ass instead. Can you already hear where that's not okay? Yeah, I said no. End of sentence. All right. But see, the boundaries then pushed. The line is crossed. The boundaries pushed. Okay. So he would, let's see, he wanted to do the same on my breasts while I urinated on the toilet. He had to talk dirty to me the entire time. He was even more obsessed with cunnilingus. And while that sounds nice in theory, it's weird when that's all he wants to do. It seemed detached emotionally and like it was not love at all. Some people have kinks, and that's fine. I guess that's normal. But I have never had a man treat me like this in bed, ever. It felt extremely demeaning. I might as well have been a blow-up doll. He was not like that at first when we started dating. It just gradually got more weird over time. Hi, Duchess. So sorry to include your name in that thread of words. So you can see how even reading that is a little dark and well, it's very dark, and how this is just an example of the things people can't talk about that go on in these relationships with toxic people, narcissistic people who use sex for power and control, and who are unwilling to hear the word no, right? And push the boundary past that. It is blatant sexual abuse when that happens. So yeah, this is just, yeah, it's going to keep going. So here's another one. Okay. And the reason that this is important, again, is not to shame and me. Maybe someone loves all of that stuff I just mentioned, and that's totally fine if you do. It's not judging the act. It's judging the fact that this person felt a certain way and couldn't express it within her intimate relationship that she had with this person for many years. Express it in a way, be heard and be respected for it, right? It's not a matter of what one person wants that the other person doesn't want, and you compromise. This is blatant line crossing, boundary pushing, and abuse. So keep going. This is another person. He loved to dominate and use handcuffs on me with sex at least 3 times a day. When he first brought it up that he wanted to be a little more experimental in their sex life, I said, we need to go very slow. Okay, this one makes my heart hurt, okay? Because this person was very open with this narcissist, laid her vulnerabilities on the line, and it was taken advantage of. So, okay. He said we need to go very, very slow because I was raped when I was 17. So I need to feel safe and we need to go slow. He got mad at me and said that I made him feel embarrassed and dirty for asking these things and discarded me. Foolishly, when we got back together again, after he love bombed me again, and he tried experimenting on these things. I like doing them with him, but I didn't want it all the time. I wanted to have actual intimacy as well. But I did it like doing the things he wanted to do, just sometimes, not all the times. And it seemed as if this is what he preferred all the time, as opposed to true intimacy. I don't believe I was coerced. Maybe it was a very subtly though, because I did want to please him and I was very attracted to him. But whatever we were in the middle of, let's call it a session. If I said that it was enough, he stopped immediately. Well, that's good. But if I would have said I don't want to do it ever again, I'm sure I would have been devalued and thrown away. It's this subtle dance of the grooming and hi butterfly mama, the subtle dance of grooming and coercion that is like a covert coercion, because the underlying message that this person had the entire time was do it or leave, do it or get out, you're not enough. So their self-worth, their safety in the relationship was wrapped up in whether or not they said yes to something that maybe they did or didn't want to do. Maybe they never would have thought of, or it's not something that they were into, but they would have happily compromised on in order once in a while. The fact that they didn't feel intimacy and instead they felt that they were being used by this and that it lacked intimacy. You see, most people who experience BDSM type of relationships, intimacy for many people is created within that dynamic. if you're not feeling intimacy within that dynamic, there's something going on. And it's becoming an objectification and basically a situation of a hostage and a dominator taking over, right? It's the picture I read here is one of acceptance that this is what happened, and acceptance and acknowledgement of participation, and not feeling like it was full-blown coercion. And I totally respect that. However, what I read from it is that there is a sort of, I'm trying to say, it's like saying, it's taking accountability a little bit for the actions of a toxic person, which we do all the time, because a true conversation about something like this wouldn't end in someone throwing you away because you can't do something like this all the time, right? That fear that's placed there is like dangling the ultimatum the entire time. So it becomes coercion just because of that, right? It's like, if you won't do this, I'm going to leave you. But then you're forced to do that thing because otherwise they're going to leave you. You're trauma bonded. This is not just like some stranger off the street. This is a narcissistic person who's groomed you and trauma bonded you with you in many ways throughout the relationship. This isn't the only issue in the relationship, right? So I'm glad that you don't feel that she didn't feel that it was coercion. I see elements of coercion in it, subtle, like she said. So, okay. It was very difficult to make. Okay. This person is talking about, let's see, sorry, going on. Does anyone have anything to say to any of this today? Otherwise, we're going to keep it short. I'm just reading a few of these. Basically, the point is that there are people that are constantly coming to us in coaching, and constantly coming to us usually you don't hear about this a lot in peer groups. You hear about it once in a while. There'll be a thread, people get a post, and people get really active on the post, and they air everything that they've gone through, and it's usually done kind of joking or kind of like this uncomfortableness about it, because it's not a thing that's seen by anyone else. I talked about this a little yesterday. Hi, Daniel. Happy Parasite-Free Tuesday to you too. We're quiet today because I'm talking about sex. It happens. I bet. I wonder what it's like in junior high when they teach it and teach like sexual stuff in school, how quiet it gets. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Paula. It's one of my faves. Yeah, right. Should be. It would be if it wasn't about narcs and sex, right? But here we go. As I was saying yesterday, and I'll continue today, I forgot what I was talking about. You thought I was going to say that? Yeah. Sex said we laughed all the way through it. Okay, are you guys laughing here? It's not funny now. How can I make it funny? We can talk about something else. So that would be funny. Stuff isn't funny though, because this is really where you start to feel, okay, so personally, they were all hiding. I know they were waiting for someone to break the ice. Thank you for breaking the ice, Daniel. You got people in chat going. Even if all we do is laugh, that's okay. When you leave the narcissist, it's funny. Yeah, kind of. So sexual coercion from a narcissist is often based on that dangling of a threat of leaving. I was told if I didn't do it every night, I was going to be left. Like who? I mean, no exception. None. Sick, it doesn't matter. In pain, doesn't matter. Like that's withholding and I'm leaving you. What? But it's not, which is ridiculous on its own, right? On its own, if someone said that to me, I'd say, oh yeah, buddy, there's the door. I don't care, right? I don't care. But when you're talking about something where it's wrapped up in a relationship where you are trauma bonded, where you are sex addict much, and that's another thing. Yes, a lot of them are sex addicts. A lot of them are porn addicts. A lot of them are they're deviant in the fact that I'm not saying sexual acts are deviant. It's the way someone hides it and the way someone sneaks the peaks. Like somebody who's talking about a bisexual narcissist that they were with, and the entire thing that they said, if taken out of context, sounds like it's saying bisexuality is wrong. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is within the context of the relationship, the way it was hidden, the way it was, he would go off and sneak prostitutes of both genders. He would go off and, he preferred transvestites, and he preferred, who cares, right? If someone likes those things openly and freely with consent. But when you're talking about doing that within a relationship, that a monogamous relationship to begin with, and a relationship that this isn't discussed, this is done sneaky and underhanded, it becomes then, it's like some of them choose the thing that is going to be perceived or is perceived as different, or I don't even have the word for it. It's not like it's not like simple. It's this complex things that people might find taboo, so to speak. All right. What are we saying here? Taking away one's ability to give consent by covert manipulation is still sex without consent. It is rape. Rape is sex without consent. Thank you, Mo Cowboy. Thank you for saying that. Thank you as a man for saying that. I walk carefully, I tread carefully in saying that, because I have been criticized for saying that by people who have had violent rapes. I'm not saying this is the same thing. Okay, it's a different type. And it still is coercive, and sex without consent is rape, period. Consent with someone who isn't honest, is that consent? Right? There's a question. It's a gray area, and it's a fine line to walk. And so I leave it up to the person who experienced it to know what they experienced, right? For me, it felt like a mix of yes and no all the time. Is that consent? I don't know. It felt like a mix of yes and no. It got to the point where I was so dissociated, I wasn't even in the room. What's that say? Right? It got to that point. I mean, I was there, but I was floating off and just, not really present, because the no was strong and the yes was there. It was very confusing. And you are bonded to this person. You love them. They are abusing you, right? So much confusion goes on there. Okay. My husband seemed to enjoy it more when I didn't move. He would always do things I didn't like and be angry that I didn't enjoy it, or would pressure me into knowing I didn't want to. Right. Yes. Interesting. He would get mad at me because I didn't, and I didn't want to, even though he pressured me to. I'm a little confused because I think we're talking obscurely here, and I get it. Sounds like he would get mad at you no matter what you did, right? All right. Paul is saying, but I enjoyed the forced sex. Well, okay. Except when it was forced, when I wasn't ready, and then I got pissed. But men do that a lot anyway. Sorry, but women do it too. Women do it too. Yeah, they do. Yes. You enjoyed the forced sex. Yes. So there's the yes and no at the same time, right? Maybe not for you, but for some people, there's the yes and no at the same time. And what is happening out there? I think the cat. Okay. What if they accuse you of cheating and you never did? They are delusional. They just make stuff up and they project. Most of the time, that means that's what they're doing, or what they're thinking of doing, what they're considering doing, or they've had it happen to them and they are projecting their past pain onto you. Usually it's that. So, okay. Monogamy was one-sided. Indeed it is with them. Okay. Oh dear, what are we doing here? Narcissists can hold... What happened? I lost you. I lost the whole thing. Wait, where are we? Somewhere. I'll find it. Okay. I totally lost. Okay, there we go. Narcissists can hold back sex as a form of withholding to punish you, like the silent treatment. Yes, that's another thing they do sexually, which is a little different than what we're talking about earlier, and that the withholding to punish you. I got that one too. That was the nights we didn't have to. I'm not to say have to. It's not. It wasn't a no. That's the thing, right? It's the no and the yes at the same time because of the lack of intimacy. And once you notice that lack of intimacy is there, you feel like you feel like an object, like the person who wrote the first thing I read, where she felt like might as well have been a blow-up doll. That's said more than once. That's not just the two of us saying that, right? And when you feel like that, or is it who is saying yes to what, right? It's almost the way you say yes to the gaslighting and the way you say yes to just to make peace. So yeah, it's let's see what else we got here. Mine is funny. She keeps replying with a sentence like, sorry, I talk later. I was busy. Then like, I don't text you. What are you talking about? She's gaslighting you. Hello, Belle. Okay. Hi, Grace. Daniel is saying, was always worried about me cheating for 0 reasons. Now I understand it was because of her activities behind my back. Yep, projection. That's exactly what it is. It's one thing to wonder that once, and it's another thing to always wonder it, right? Being with narcissists for a long-term relationship feels like soul rape. Yes, it does. It kind of is. It's giving something, it's giving something freely and having it taken under false pretense. And that false pretense is you are consenting to giving your heart and soul to someone in your body, but the pretense isn't real because the person is wearing a mask and is never had the intentions that you thought they had for you. So when you're with a lie, the whole thing feels like that, right? Hi, Jeannie. So with narcissists, it's about control, ? Either stretching the boundaries of comfort or withholding. Yes, it's about control. Sex is about control. Sex is about power. It's about power. They are having sex with their own ego, with their own feeling of power. They oftentimes their pleasuring you is to prove to their ego that they are in charge of you, right? They will often, within a more BDSM type of relationship, they will often own your orgasm. It's theirs to give you or not give you. That sounds fun in some terms, like some people enjoy playing with that dynamic and the buildup of excitement of that. But when it is a narcissist, just think about it. Just think about what you're handing them. It's scary, really. You're handing them your sexual agency. You're handing them the will, right? Okay. Handing them, and by handing them, I don't mean, hello, hi, narcissist, would you like to have it? I mean, you're groomed into it. You don't know what's happening. I mean that it's taken. And so that's another question of where's the consent, okay? All right. Is there such a thing as marital rape? Yes, there is such a thing as marital rape. Any sex without consent is rape. And consent that is manipulated to become consent is not consent. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what your marital status is to the person. It's two human beings, one violating the other. There's no law that says you have to. I don't believe there is. And if it is within a religious aspect, then you would have to take it up with someone that believes the same thing, I suppose, and question it that way. But anytime there is a no of any kind, or there is a question, or one person is feeling, if you have to dissociate to be there, something's wrong, right? So yeah, the consent, there's something off in the consent there. All right. Yes, the dissociation, the manipulator, predator learns your triggers to induce dissociation, or you cannot say no and freeze. Thank you. You are speaking what is in my mind, but not coming out my mouth. Thank you. Yes. They do learn your triggers. They learn your triggers fast. And so when it comes to kinky sex with a narcissist, and you have to be really careful when you're out there, if that is something you enjoy, no, there's no shame or wrong around the act of it, whatever, but be very careful who you give that control and power over to, and who you allow to be participating with you, because it shouldn't be giving power and control. In truly, you should both have the power and control, no matter what role you're taking. With a narcissist, they have, in the same way that they can groom you in other ways, they can groom you sexually. So if they, just in the same way that they can sense kind of who you are, what you like, what you're afraid of, your vulnerabilities, all that stuff in the beginning, when you think of early love bombing stuff, how a lot of them can, especially like covert types and very ones that you'd never suspect, right? They can learn all the things about you really quickly, and they can say that just the right thing at the right time and make you feel like a soulmate, right? This is that type. They can also do the same thing sexually to you. So they can learn your triggers. They know your vulnerabilities. If they know certain things about you, they're going to push that. And they're going to push into the boundaries and push past the boundaries to where you turn around and you can't even find that boundary anymore. You don't even know how you got where you are. So, yeah. And so, yes, they do that. And then when you're in that position, the no it's a wash. It's not a clear no. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. And sometimes you are frozen. All right. What are we saying here? It's always about control with narcissists. I don't think they feel any intimacy at all, purely physical. I think they feel a connection to their own power. I think they feel a connection to their own, the ownership. So I think I'm talking from my own experience here. I think that it had the feeling of ownership through sex, so that because no one else could have that, right? And that sense of ownership was what they were getting off on sexually, besides the physical. So that's where the intimacy was. You're mine. You're mine. In fact, that was said. Okay, so all right. Okay, got so much going on here. You guys are awesome, and I'm not keeping up. All right, let me catch up. I have to allow so many of these from the words we're using today. All right. I got pictures and videos of the parasite having sex with another parasite while taxiing out on a runway on our trip to Mexico. Spent the week guilted into sex. It was my fault she cheated. It was my fault she cheated. Crushed. Yep. Okay. You're dealing with flying monkeys and it's stressful, especially as... Oh. Are you okay, Paula? I'm reading that briefly. It's about power and control, not about love and intimacy. It's the attack of the frogs again. Yes. Projection. Yes. Everything they do is about power and control. Correct. You're good. Okay. A lot has been happening. Okay, good. The topic, sex and narcissists. I've had the insane, forced, weird stuff, perhaps with the right person in the right time. It would be appropriate. Now I'm with a narcissist, no sex, no anything for 2 years. So they're the withholding type, and they're controlling you through withholding. Mo Cowboy saying, I dissociated, compromised my values for the first 20-year term in the narcissistic hell. with a sex addict. I was used as an object, bait to lure in the third. Narcissists are evil. That's right. Jeannie's saying porn addiction. But yet lack of sex. What is it about porn? It's disembodied sexual stimulation. It's objectification at its finest, right? First of all, people don't even look real. And that's not the noises people actually make. You know what I mean? It's all staged. It's all fake. Even stuff that's real is fake because people know the camera's on. It's objectification. You're watching something and objectifying the situation that's going on and getting off on it, versus intimacy, which is the emotional connection with another person and the vulnerabilities that are shared within that experience. And right. So you feel so undesirable. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. He said that 99% of men are looking at porn. Looking at porn is not the problem. It's the addiction to porn and thinking that porn is sex. That's the problem. A lot of men look at porn just to kind of get off, whatever. Or women, doesn't matter. People look at it. It's a thing. It's out there. It's available. It makes people money. Whatever. It is what it is. It's the addiction to it and the fact that somebody who is addicted to it and also can't have intimate relations that are actually intimate with another person that makes it the problem. Porn's not the problem. It's the addiction and the person viewing it who is emotionally not healthy. So, does that make sense? It has nothing to do with you at all. Nothing. They could have a thing for, anything, and it wouldn't be about you. It's their it's about them. It's all a con job, false pretense, says Bonnie. Duchess says, I like buying a beautiful car and then finding it out it has no engine. I got a lemon. Cowboy, reading about recovery of the partners of sex addicts, I discovered this is not to be the exception. I was not alone. Control and domination, says Bonnie. Paula, mine's now resulted in telling me about all of them, but I realize she most likely does the same with others. Yes. And we know what she's doing. She's hoovering. One of my exes would get furious if I didn't have an orgasm. Oh, yeah. Because it's about them and their power. And if you don't, then that's about them, right? Hi, Tara. Paula is saying the thing is, what I'm aware of what I'm dealing with, and I'm aware, and the narcissist knows I know. But how does that help you be healthy to even be engaging with them? That's my question. You're handing them your right to pleasure. Not intentionally, right? Yes and no. I mean, we are unknowingly handing over our right to pleasure. Okay. During sex, it was like I wasn't present. My body was there. It was like I was outside my body watching in horror as my body responded. Right? Yeah, that's it's such an intimate and even just within our society, an intimate act, right? And even though we've depersonalized it and objectified it so much through the way we use sex in advertising and in pornography and in just in the world at large, it's still within a relationship is deemed an act of intimacy. And when you're with someone who has none, it just completely feels empty and there's nowhere to go for a lot of people, but into that dissociative state. Okay, this is a very different scenario, but shortly before going no contact, I watched my mom coerce my son into letting her wipe his bottom, and then he was calling for me. She told me not to call for me. What? That's awful. What the heck is that? I was standing right there and saw her do it, and she gaslit me when I confronted her. I am so glad you're no contact with her. That's just bordering on like what's next, right? Okay. I feel so alone. Oh, Belle, in need of simply quiet intimacy. It's pitiful. It's not pitiful. It's human. It's human. All right. I'm ashamed to say I begged him to just hold me the other night when I was sick. Death of my family. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, Belle, it's those times that giving yourself the care you need might help you more than turning to your abuser. Turning to people, even if it's friends online, and saying, hey guys, I need some support or whatever. Anything, but turning to the abuser is further traumatizing you. And don't be ashamed though, because we all would do that. We all need someone to be there during those times. So learning to be there for yourself during those times is also important. So maybe now that you've seen it, maybe now trying to find ways to nurture yourself further, to continue with that. So it's not always turning to the toxic person. Let's see here. Is it possible that they fantasize about other people while having sex with you? Oh, it's more than possible. It's probably likely. Yeah. Are they really only thinking about themselves? No room for anyone else. I think they think about all kinds of things. I think it's not that they're thinking me. Sorry. Okay. It's not that they're thinking of self. It's that they are gratifying themselves through you and using you as an object, that the intent isn't for intimacy. The intent is for power and control under the guise of intimacy and what they think is intimacy even, but it isn't. And yes, it's entirely possible that they fantasize about all kinds of things, including the last porn they watched, whatever, and it's also normal it's also completely healthy and normal to do that once in a while for everybody. All right. It's the doing that coupled with the fact that they're not actually being present to you as a person that makes it dark, right? It's just like any of these things. None of these things are wrong. Most of these things are, nothing's the matter with it, but it's coupled with the fact that they aren't actually present to you, who is their partner, as a human being. And it just makes it using you, right? Okay. Porn is also a form of triangulation to get the target to compete with staged event, not reality. That's a good point. Yes, it is. It can be. And again, if someone enjoys it and that's their thing, that's fine. It's that combined with the toxic behaviors of toxic people within a relationship. Frankly, if they would just stick to the porn, it'd be better, right? Because then they're not entangling other people's hearts and lives. All right. It's sad when you realize you were having a relationship with a non-person and even had children with these disembodied souls. It's very sad. It leaves you alone, doesn't it? Oh, yes. I wonder whoever brought up the porn thing. I do not go looking for evidence. I could care less. What freaked me out was the age of the photos that popped up on his tablet. I guess he forgot. And there's that. Okay. What are we saying here? Chocolate brownie time. Yum. Okay. My ex had a friend that had my name. One night we were intimate and he kept calling out her name. I found out later that he was actually calling out her name and videotaping it. He sent her the video. Right? What do you say to that? What can you say? What can you say to that? So, I guess the point is that like here's one about choking. How about choking? Why did he think that was a turn on? He was not only toxic, the only toxic past lover who felt this was sexy. I have to say choking a girl is not sexy. to me, but seems to be a narcissistic personality turn on. Is this because of their control issues? I would say absolutely it's because of control issues, power, seeing misogynistic ways of seeing women, right? Not always is that the case. There are many women who enjoy that. This is not a criticism of the act itself. Again, this is when it's done non-consensually or coercively, or even passive coercively, and it's a fixated thing within the sexual relationship that isn't reciprocal and is from a person who has no empathy. Do you want a person with no empathy's hands around your throat, even if you enjoy being choked a bit? No, right? Okay. All right. Belle is saying thank you. Oh, you're welcome. All right. He had total obsession with toys and making me use them, humiliating. And you see, and that's the point. There is nothing wrong with using toys. Nothing. Woo! Even my screen just got, wait, fix it. There we go. Nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that it made you feel humiliated. If you're feeling humiliated for you, that isn't okay. And within a relationship, your partner should be sensitive enough to know that and to either talk about why it's humiliating and what you can do to make it better and would you enjoy it and blah, 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 or say that's not necessary. That's not the point. It was done to humiliate you. The humiliation was part of that person's pleasure, guaranteed. They like to humiliate us. They like to make us feel lesser than, and it's like a form of devaluing within the intimacy and within sex, right? To make you feel humiliated. Narcs are sadistic. Mine was admittedly a sadist. They can be extremely sadistic. They enjoy the pain. They enjoy giving you pain in many ways, including emotional, shaming, humility, physical. So, all right. I can't do toys if I find it weird. I like the physical contact skin-wise. Right. Understood. All right. Okay. Anything else, you guys? We are almost coming to a close here. This is just kind of I'm just talking today, and I don't have anything else really lined up to say about it. I just wanted to start talking about it again because I said I would. I want to talk more about later on, not today, but later on about narcissists, just straight up narcissist and sex abuse, and other things. So, and withholding is another topic I've talked about before, but I think it's important, and it's one of my more watched videos. It's an older one, and it actually is, I think, one of the ones with the most views. So I think I will do another episode of Narcissists and withholding, because it seems to be equally happening to the sex addict types, to the over sexualized types of narcissists. And I didn't have a whole lot of response to the kinky weird stuff, so to speak. But if other people start chiming in, I will talk more about it later. Anyway, so what are we saying here? I'm surprised that narcissists can even have sex. They don't even like to hug, no less kiss. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them are very affectionate, so to speak, physically. It's a very clinging, needy affection that they like to touch, and others don't. So, I now see how it was groomed into twisted things that maybe with the right person would be okay. I see the grooming now. He was talking marriage within a month. Right. It's not just like only in the bedroom, so to speak. It's the whole relationship you're being groomed within. Just like the one comment about how they would leave if this particular act wasn't performed or whatever, that is a good example of how how a toxic person uses a negative threat to manipulate a positive situation. That's not quite grooming. That's straight up manipulation, but there's other bits that were groomed in there to trust. I was groomed to trust 100%. Trust with everything, give everything over, 100% trust. And then took years to realize it wasn't my best interest they had in mind. It was theirs. So, all right. Oh, so many post-its. It's good. I had at least 2 incidents of violent, less extreme, non-enjoyable sex, and I didn't have the self-esteem at that time to tell my partner to stop. Now I do. I wonder if that's a form of devaluing. Yes, it is. It's all a form of devaluing when it's if they are sensitive enough. I mean, I don't know that your partner in particular, obviously, but thankfully, but if somebody is sensitive enough to know where your vulnerabilities are and where your buttons are to push, then they're sensitive enough to know that this is not enjoyable, right? So it is a form of coercive attack and violence, and it is devaluing as well. Why don't they kiss, but they can have sex? Because kissing is extremely intimate. Kissing is direct connection. It's there. Your eyes are close. Your face is close. It's a shared experience versus genitals pounding, right? I mean, what do I say? That's what it's a closer, more intimate thing. And they don't, a lot of them, if you have one that has an extreme avoidance for intimacy, that can happen. A lot of them like to kiss though. So I don't know. That's a toss up right there. What did I miss here? It keeps jumping. If I miss something, I'm sorry. Why is it so hard to say that he choked me? I seem to dissociate when it comes up. Because it was an assault on you. It's hard to talk about that stuff. It's hard to hear this stuff. It's hard to talk about it. That's why we're doing it. Because somebody out there is going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this happened to other people too. Right? And now I don't feel so alone. They love this. Here's the other thing is, a lot of times it's really good sex. And it's really hard to find. A lot of people say, I'll never find that good of sex. It's what kept me there, right? I understand that. And that's another one where it's difficult to even talk about, because you're saying, wait a minute, you just said it felt like coercion, and yet now you're saying it's some of the better sex. What? It's very confusing. It's the same as the entire relationship. It was the most intense love, and it was the most toxic at the same time, right? It's the same thing. So it can be very hard to talk about. It can be hard to admit. It can be hard to even know what you feel about it. Okay. 5 times in one night. It's exhausting. It can be. They have sex like they're with a prostitute. That's a good one. Well, it's not a good one, but yes. I just use mine for sex. Now it's simple. Oh, you got to be careful, honey. Cause that oxytocin released is part of the trauma bond. You got to be careful with any physical contact with them. And if they do kiss, they keep their eyes open, huh? It's like they are watching your reaction. Very creepy. There is that. Yeah. The entire thing is one big pile of confusion. It certainly is. Mine was the worst in bed, but thought he was the best. There's that too. There's a big mix. There are a lot of people who say it was the best, and they don't know how they're going to ever find that again, because there are performance things that narcissists like to do, and that's one of them for some. And then there's others that say what you're saying there, Jeannie, that it wasn't that good, and yet they thought they were that good. Yes, that one, Mad Eyes, Wide Shut movie. Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else you want to talk about today regarding this topic, or anything else that I missed? So creepy, eyes open, weird, isn't it? I mean, yeah. I think it's a hypnotic thing. I think it's a look at me. It's the same as that narc stare that lures you in, repulses you at the same time. That it's that magnetic, creepy, not the narc stare when they're angry, the predatory narc stare of drawing you in. The one that like pulls you in with their, tractor beam eyes and tries to get you to that snake charmer eye thing, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what it is. Okay. It's extreme trauma bonding and it's sad. It is. Daniel's saying, oddly, the parasite was one of the most vanilla and boring I've ever experienced. How interesting. And then there's the coercion of, well, that's a whole nother thing. And we can talk about that sometime too. And that is from what I've heard from men, straight men with female narcissistic partners, there is a whole, there's a whole repertoire of things that they have said to me. And it all lines up and it's all very similar. And it's very different than what some of the women who speak of men or same-sex couples have told me. It's this really specific thing of the straight female narc. And I'm curious of it. And I haven't talked to enough people to have a whole lot to say on it. It would be a lot of kind of piecing together things. But that is kind of one of them, that there was this sort of withholding, boring aspect that also, but then they were sex addicts and cheaters, and they used the sex to keep you in line. And yeah, there's a whole thing. There's some other parasite was getting the good stuff. That's what I mean. Yeah. And sometimes the male narcissist will do that too, and it's the whole Madonna whore thing, right? So they see their partner, once there is intimacy, they see them as the Madonna, the pure, the mother, the one you don't really have sex with, or if you do, it's very boring. And then they like to have on the side, they're the ones they see as the whore. So yeah, or you become one and the same, and that's another topic that we could talk about too. Okay, I will, Daniel, or feel free to let me know what you think about that, and in an email or something, and just spill it, and I will try and find other people as well to spill it, and we'll talk about it. All right. Being that I'm not a man in that position, I can only say what I've heard, and I'm really good at seeing patterns and like, oh my gosh, there's a whole pattern. I see the manipulation, what they're doing. Okay, all right, Lise, perhaps I am fortunate to not have intimacy because of the oxytocin release. I think yes, I do not have that. Blessing in disguise. One day I'll look forward to intimacy with a person who I love and who loves me real. I know. Okay. Some do vanilla with their primary supply and hide. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Bonnie, sex is used to keep you believing that you actually have a real relationship, but truly they are just empty. Mm-hmm. And the point also that I wanted to make real quick is with the boundary crossing. That subtle coercion is the stuff you got to watch for. And if you're doing something that you don't want to be doing, you've been coerced to doing it. All right. With a narcissist. And it's the same as all the boundary crossing. It's the same manipulation and abuse, just in a different playground. Right. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about? My heart goes out to all of you for sexuality that is abusive in disguise. It is. Yeah, mine too. And it's a place, it's just another area to heal. Yay. But it's talking about it hopefully is useful and helpful and helps someone not feel entirely alone. And this was a more tough topic today, just because it's something that isn't talked about. It is equally as tough as the gaslighting and everything else that is suffered under the narcissist. It's just that this isn't a topic that is spoken about even in support groups very often. And it I think taking away the mystery of it and the hiding of it can be helpful and useful for people to heal from it. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or anything about this topic that they would like kept private, you can feel free to email me. My email is in the description of every video. Email me what you would like to have said, spoken, or whatever, and in a future video I will compile them and read them, if no names included to keep it private, or anything like that that's needed. I'm available for that anytime. Or if you have something you want to leave public, leave it in the comments and we'll use it in a different video as well to go with this topic, so that we're not just leaving it in the dark all the time, because it doesn't belong in the dark. All right. Okay, I will catch you guys. What's today? Today's Tuesday. On Thursday, not sure what we're talking about. Something a little more uplifting, hopefully, for the end of the week. We'll get there. You're welcome, Martha. And yes, I want to thank everyone who shared, and how open you guys have been in sharing in here today. And to those who shared to help me get this, going, who shared anonymously. Thank you. Let's see. The narcissist takes away humanity by faking that they love you when they are not capable of love. And you can take back your humanity by realizing that it's them that doesn't have it. Right? Okay, you guys. Thank you very much. If you need, or if you want, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? If you want text notifications of my going live, text me at 33222. Put the word Lise Live, LISELIVE, hit send, and I will text you 10 minutes before going live. If you enjoyed this topic, hit the thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please hit subscribe. There should be a little button down there right now. And I think that's it. The group coaching is starting tomorrow for this month. You can join anytime, but it is starting for the month tomorrow. So if anyone is interested in that or needing that, there is information down below in the main description. And again, if you need help with anything related to narcissistic abuse, head over to queenbeing.com and look around. There's tons there. There's information also for peer support groups that are free. There's also a paid peer support group that is smaller and kept off of Facebook. And there is information on private coaching. And remember that from now through January 1st, I have 35% off one-on-one sessions. So just so you have all that info, you got it. And I'll see you guys Thursday. You take care. Bye-bye.